Ladies and gents, I'm Papa Smoke and welcome back to another House of Smoke video. Okay, so today we're going to discuss the use of poisons and venoms in root work, ritual magic, dark work, things like that, yeah? Also, bringing you a special announcement, yeah? Some of you out there know that I'm close to, some of you don't. My fiance is coming in September, coming over here to be with me. And we're going to create a lot of good content together. So I'm going to be shifting a lot of things over to another channel. I'm going to keep this channel alive, but I'm going to primarily focus on the other channel, and that's what this table's for. Okay, so as a lot of you know, I'm actually a professional tarot reader during the day. I work for a tarot line called Psychic Sofa. I'm going to start producing content where we do like astrology based tarot readings. So like we'll do a read for each sign each day. So that's what this table is going to be for. Can't wait to bring you that content. Also going to bring you some fabulous paranormal based content that you will love, because it's got like paranormal and history in it as well. We're going to go all over England, all over Europe, all over America. It's going to be something that's quite interesting for you to see at home. It's going to be an interesting project for me and my fiance to do. Yeah? Okay, so anyway, back to the purpose of today's video. So today's video is about the use of poisons and venoms in root work and ritual magic. So first of all, poisons and venoms have been used in voodoo for quite a long time, and they weren't just used in ritual magic either. They'd be toxins and things like that used sometimes in places like Haiti, where they would spike each other's drinks with them and stuff like that. In fact, there's a magical ritual called a gad against having your drink poisoned, basically, where the luau will interfere with the process. So someone tries to save you a poisoned drink, something will happen to knock it out of your hand, or you'll put it on the table, something will stop you drinking it, basically. And it's a tradition actually in places like Haiti that if somebody makes you a drink and an accident like that happens, whether you suspect it's poisoning or not, it's actually traditional to then never accept a drink off that person again, and to try not to go into their house again. So poisons and that are used widely. They're not just used magically, they're also used nefariously in other ways, but let's look at how they're used magically. So there are different degrees in which they're used magically. In the old zombie creation process, which involves basically poisoning somebody and exhuming them and doing a soul snatching ritual on them. Yeah. Poisons can be used in this way. In fact, the zombie powder can actually, well, not can, does actually contain blowfish venom, or as you call it in America, pufferfish venom, tetrodotoxin. Yeah, or something very similar. There are other things where you can get similar toxins, but tetrodotoxin is one of the best ones for that specific process. Reason being is a person, when they've been dosed with a small enough amount of it, yeah, will mimic death but not actually be dead. Yeah, so their heart rate will slow down to an untraceable beat. Their breathing will be nigh on non-existent, and their body will sort of shut down and sort of like paralyzed, but they won't actually die. And then what happens is the Bokor comes along and exhumes the body after the funeral service, and a ritual is done to then snatch the soul out of that body and use the soul from the body as a zombie. They can be used for a number of things. Zombies are spirits either contracted or bound to work. In this process, because you're snatching someone's soul out, it's a very dark process. You would bind the soul to work, so you would bind it into servitude to work for you. And they can be used for all sorts of things. You can send them into people's dreams and terrorize them, just like off that film, The Serpent and the Rainbow. You can, and it depends what that person was like as well when they were alive, because depending on what skills and traits and what they were like when they were alive, depends on what effects they can bring to the table for you. If you've done it to a business tycoon, for example, they might be great for money work. If you've done it to a psycho, they might be great for dark work. You get where I'm going. Depends what the sort of like personality traits and what this person's skill set was, as to what the zombie can do in terms of what services it can bring to you. Yeah. Okay, so that's one way that poisons and venoms are used in work and ritual magic. They're used to basically mimic death, so that the zombification process can begin. Mimic death. It's also worth noting that it's postulated that while under the effects of the tetrodotoxin poison, just like when one's asleep, the kunda, or life force energy, or chi, or reiki, or whatever you want to call it in Vodou, we call it the nami, yeah, the spiritual energy field around you, yeah. The aura, it's also called, yeah. This, when you're either unconscious or like in a paralytic state, for example, comatose from poisoning, this particular energy field, whatever you want to call it, yeah, is at its weakest, yeah. So it's postulated that the soul snatching process is easier to do while this energy field is at its weakest, because the energy field's there to protect the soul. That's why it's postulated that the poison's needed and stuff like that. It's not just to mimic death so the person isn't missed. It's also to make the non-mate, so the spiritual energy field, really, really weak, to allow the soul extraction process to go through nice and easy. Usually work with the spirits such as Papa Gede or Bachon Sandi for these things. They both have soul snatching abilities. And if it's a forced soul, it's usually put into a special binding, a special govi, to bind it. If it's not forced as well, they're put in a govi, but in this process I'm referring to, where someone's poisoned, it's forced. It's definitely 100% forced. Yeah? Well, that's one way poisons and venoms can be used. Now, poisons and venoms can also be used in dark works too, and I've done this before. I've had various poisons and venoms from around the world. I'm not going to say what, because I don't want to get myself into trouble, and I'm not going to say where I got them from or who sent them, because I don't want to get anybody else into trouble either. But these various poisons and venoms from around the world that I've used, I've found that they don't necessarily have the exact effect that they would do when they're applied physically. So it's not like, say for example, you use Black Widow venom, yeah? That person isn't going to die from Black Widow venom poisoning, yeah? What's going to happen is Black Widow venom, when it sets in, can cause mad hallucinations and things like that, yeah? So this person will get sick, they'll get the sweats, they'll feel pain, and they'll also get hallucinations. So things will happen to like send them a little crazy and stuff like that. This is quite an effective one to use, is like things such as Black Widow venom. So even with some of the most deadly venoms in the world, yeah, right, your target's not likely to die. Instead, they'll exhibit symptoms, sickness symptoms that are similar to the symptoms of the poisoning, but because they haven't ingested the toxin, the poison won't shut their body down. They'll just suffer from the symptoms, yeah? Again, yellow jacket stings, in England we call them wasps, in America you'll call them yellow jackets. Yellow jacket stings, they're a great one, and I've used them before. We had a problem with the yellow jacket nest, when they were exterminated. I asked the exterminator to leave the bodies behind. I extracted the stings from the bodies, which is a very careful, laborious process because they're small and they can still sting you after death. Yeah, and I started to use these in workings, specifically cucumber curses, which is a curse on a male's genitalia, designed to cause him immense pain every time he becomes aroused. What had happened is this particular male had been beating on and cheating on his other half, and she didn't want him to have any amorous fun ever again. The results she reported were brilliant. He actually went to what we call an STI clinic in England. In America you call them an STD clinic, to get checked, because every time he became aroused he had a burning sensation. I understand that for a couple of hours after that sensation kicked in, it was difficult for him to pass fluids, so he was having a burning sensation there, and he was screaming about how it stings and how painful it is, yeah? That was a result of the yellow jacket venom, yeah? But then again, it didn't swell up and like if an actual wasp stung it, but he got the pain. Every time he was aroused, he got that pain, yeah? Different venoms and stuff can be used for different reasons. All I will say is be careful when handling venoms. Some of them you need a license to possess and a license for. Using venoms in spiritual work is a bit touchy, so you'll have to check the legalities of your area. Like, for example, in this country, it's legal to possess venomous animals if you have certain certificates, but the venom has to be disposed of in a certain way. Yeah, right? So it's very difficult to then legally justify using that in a spiritual working, because technically it's not legal to possess, other than to dispose of. So be careful when you're using poisons and venoms in your work. Also, don't get it on your hands. This is another reason why we wear gas station gloves. We wear them to prevent spiritual cross-contamination. However, in our more grisly workings, like the ones I'm just explaining to you, where we actually use real poisons and venoms that if you get them in your blood or in your system can kill you stone dead, it's a good idea to use plastic gloves. Yeah. When I use venoms that are lethal as well, I usually wear a COVID mask with plastic gloves. Not that a COVID mask does anything against spillage, but I feel it stops breathing in some sort of fumes or whatever. A lot of venoms don't have fumes, but sometimes when you mix them with other ingredients, it can make a reaction. So you have to be very, very careful. You have to know your stuff as well. You have to know about storing them. You have to know about handling them. You have to know about disposing of them. Yeah. In England, there are special places we dispose of venoms with the council and stuff like that, especially if you're a licensed pet owner. I'm not sure what it is in America, but I'm guessing there's places where you can dispose on, like through the city or whatever. But yeah, poisons and venoms are a really important tool. They were used for years in Haiti, both physically and spiritually. And spiritually, they are extremely damaging. Extremely damaging. There are some that can result in causing death. I know I said that they don't all cause death, or that when you inflict a venom on somebody, it doesn't necessarily kill them, they just feel the symptoms. But if you take something like digitalis, for example, which stops your heart dead like a stone, yeah, if that manifests strong enough within that target, it could have the potential to stop their heart. Yeah, I've never possessed digitalis or used it in that way, but from my experience working with venoms and poisons spiritually, the fact is that the symptoms of being poisoned by said venom, yeah, manifest within the target. It's natural to assume that ones that do stop your heart and stuff like that, that could potentially manifest. So when you employ using venoms and poisons in spiritual work, you have to be aware with the fact you could cause someone's death, and you have to be able to live with that. Yeah, so I implore you not to do it and not to mess around with it. Yeah, this is just me bringing you the information about it, because it is something used in voodoo. It is something still done in places like Haiti and stuff today. People still get poisoned. It's one of the easiest, quickest ways to bomb someone off over there. Their forensic system ain't as brilliant enough to find it, you see. So yeah, anyways, I'm Papa Smoke. Don't do anything I wouldn't do, which ain't the right law. And disclaimer, I've never used venoms to take a life. Never. And when I'm talking about poisons and venoms, I'm not talking about man-made chemicals, yeah. I'm talking about snake venom, spider venom, digitalis, which is a plant venom. There are other plants with other sorts of venoms in that I've used in dark works myself. Things such as bindweed. Doesn't necessarily have a venom in, but what that one does is has certain spiritual effects. Bindweed was a bad example for you. Datura, that's the one. So a client sent me some requests to use bindweed and datura. Bindweed I had, he sent me some datura. Datura's quite strange, it sends people quite insane, and again can have potentially lethal consequences if ingested. So yeah, I'm talking about natural venoms. The reason we prefer to use natural ingredients over man-made chemicals, yeah, is everything in the work needs to be spiritually harmonious with the intention and with the loi that we're working with, yeah. And things from nature have souls, yeah. So it's easy for someone with psychic abilities, yeah, such as myself, for example, to discern what's harmonious and what's not harmonious. The spirits tell you. They literally say, don't be giving me that kind of thing. So yeah. Anyway, I'm Papa Smoke. Don't do anything I wouldn't do, which ain't a right lot. Hit me down in the comments, yeah, if you've got any questions about this. And also, if anybody is interested in the astrology tarot thing, comment and let me know so I know it's a decent idea. I mean, I'm going to do it anyway, yeah, but I just want to gauge how many people out there are interested. If anyone wants a reading at any point, hit me up. They're still £21 at the moment for a reading. On the £21 reading, yeah, right, because I've had some clients, quite frankly, take the piss, yeah, that stops at an hour. You don't have to take the full hour. If we get you sorted out in half an hour, fine, yeah, but we ain't going over an hour for £21, yeah, okay? So don't do anything I won't do, which ain't a right lot. One last thing before I go as well. I'm contemplating doing a live free reading session through TikTok, Facebook, probably Instagram, yeah, using the StreamYard platform as a premiere when I do my astrology tarot. I was thinking of doing an actual live where I sit on there for a night and I do one for each star sign, just as an introduction to give people a taste of what's coming up and just to allow you all to see it and stuff like that. Like, share and subscribe. Peace.